Hello, and welcome to the Konvergent video series for the week of June 1st. Hope you all had a great weekend. We had a really good weekend getting to celebrate our oldest daughter's 9th birthday and spend some time out on our pond with her new kayak. So hope you guys had a good weekend as well. So last week was an interesting short week in the market, a reasonable amount of volatility kind of heading into the end of the week with President Trump giving a speech on our relationship with China and ahead of a pretty volatile weekend of protests related to the death of George Floyd. So the market so far seemed to be just shrugging off all of that volatility, but we'll see here coming into the next few weeks. So specifically last week to the S&P 500, we saw the S&P up about 3% for the week, and again highlighted really by some volatility on Friday. Coming into President Trump's speech, the market was down about 1%. And by the end of his speech, we were up about 0.5%. So a big swing in the market. And really all of that optimism was related to the fact that he didn't specifically mention ending the trade deal with China. However, if you look at the speech specifically, it was pretty hawkish. And so I think there's a lot to come with our relationship with China here in the coming weeks and months to keep an eye on. So through that week last week, the market being up 3%, that's really led to some pretty historic valuations in the market. So on the S&P 500 itself, the forward price to earnings ratio is now up to about 24. But even more interesting is the valuation on the small cap index, the Russell 2000, which now is at historic highs, well over 50 on the forward PE ratio. For the Russell 2000. So stock market continues to fly high in spite of continued challenging economic data. So last week, again, another 2 million plus new unemployment claims, which doesn't include another 2 million of pandemic unemployment claims. So over 4 million in total new claims last week. However, a little bit of room for optimism. We saw the continuing claims numbers drop to around 21 million last week. So in spite of a lot of new unemployment claims, we saw more people overall go back to work last week. So we'll see if that's just a 1 week issue or something that turns into a more longer term trend to be more optimistic about. Some other data came out last week, though, to keep an eye on. The first one is a massive drop, historic drop in consumer spending, while at the same time, we saw a massive rise in the overall savings rate, which makes sense. People concerned about the economy, so they were not spending quite as much on new items, so our savings rate went up. But something very interesting within that data is included in the savings rate is investing dollars. And based on some bank transfer data that we were able to see, we saw a large increase in the amount of investing in April. And so what that leads us to believe is that at least one of the factors for the rise in the stock market in April and probably in May is that a lot of these extra unemployment dollars or some of the funds that came from the stimulus package are probably going into the market. And so that's something that could be sustained in the near term, but is something that we want to keep a really close eye on. So what does this all mean? So it could mean again that we see some sustained increase in the market as again some of these extra dollars are flooding into the market. And so if that is the case, if that's what the data points to, we may be making some adjustments in our portfolios based on that. But it's still, to me, is something we need to be very patient about. Some other things I'm keeping my eye on is as we get into June, the funds from the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program from the CARES Act, that 8 week of funding is going to begin to run out for small businesses. So what's going to happen here in June and July if they're not fully back up and running again? Are we going to see some increase in unemployment related to that? Also, the extra funds for unemployment run out at the end of July. And so what's going to happen with the extra dollars people are currently receiving as that funding runs out in July? Or we're going to see another large drop in spending. So a lot of issues still to come and things that we need to be very patient on and still cautious around. But again, we're going to be proactive as we see the data come in and be watching it very carefully. So with that, that's a wrap for the week video. Hope you guys all have a great week. And if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out and we'll look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.